This episode of PPC Live, the podcast, is sponsored by AdSquire. AdSquire are a small team of passionate and focused legal marketers that do what it takes to get law firms spectacular results. With the landscape always changing, they stay on top of the trends and are first to find and use new strategies to accomplish this for their clients. And so if you're a law firm, you definitely want to give them a call. They've been they've been the first to get to serve a lawyer ad on ChatGPT. And we know that even with all like the fact that it's very new, you really want to be testing some of these new strategies very early. And yeah, the AdSquire team have got inside knowledge on how to do that and have started doing that for their clients already. So if you want to have your ads showing in ChatGPT and you're a law firm, they're the ones to contact. So please go to adsquire.com to find out how much they can help you. Hello and welcome to PPC Live, the podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And as usual, every week I speak to a different PPC expert about an effort that they've made, a mistake that really made their skin crawl, but how they've actually also turned things around. We never leave things on a disappointed note. We share what was disappointing, what was the learning was, what the communication with the client was, and whether they still even were able to keep that client on after that mistake. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to Heather Robinson, who has been in the industry for many years, 20 plus years, and is actually now a freelancer and has been successfully a freelancer for maybe 12 years now, 12 years plus. And yeah, she shares her experience about how she made a big overspend, made a mistake on a Friday. We all know that's the kind of mistakes that make you want to bite your teeth, and just how that conversation happened with the client and what the biggest learning for her was. So yeah, let's go speak to Heather. Hello, Heather. Welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hi, Anu. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And yeah, I was saying I'm recording here from Nigeria. So yeah, and even our internet connection, this is our third go at it. So let's hope it lasts through. I was saying to Heather earlier on, but Heather, where are you recording?
So I'm based in Harrogate in North Yorkshire in England.
Nice. And I was just saying as well, Yorkshire just in general is such a beautiful part of the country. And I used to work for a company where you need to go to Leeds every once in a while, and then we hung out in Yorkshire sometimes. Such a beautiful part of the UK. But anyway, let's get into introducing my guest, Heather, to you. So yeah, Heather is a Google Ads specialist who has been helping businesses generate high quality leads since 2005, and as a freelance PPC consultant since 2012, since 2012 even. Yes, and Heather specializes in working with service businesses, B2B companies, and specialist firms, helping them turn Google Ads into a reliable source of qualified inquiries. Alongside her consulting work, she also writes The Freelance Life on Substack, where she shares honest, practical advice on building a sustainable freelance career. So, and I actually do think having freelance resources is very useful because over the past 4 or 5 years, I've just seen there have been a boom in people wanting to, go out, cutting the costs for clients, and not necessarily wanting to work for a brand, but having that option of working for multiple brands. What was your inspiration that got you into freelancing?
For me, it was actually my dad was self-employed. So from the age of kind of 8 years old, I used to help my dad out, and he'd been employed for 27 years before getting made redundant and decided to set up his own business. And I'd kind of seen how he'd been independent, been able to make his own decisions. And yeah, just from a young age, I thought I want to work for myself. That's what I want to do.
Nice.
But as a graduate, obviously, you need that experience as in an employed position first, and you want to get on the property ladder and get a mortgage, so you need a salary. So it didn't happen straight away. But after sort of six and a half years of being employed, that's when I thought I need to do something on my own now. So
Nice. And how's it been going so far?
Great. I mean, 14 years under my belt, not looked back, not being tempted. I don't think I'm employable now anyway, but I've not been tempted to look at another job. I mean, it's not for everyone. I'm lucky that I've got obviously a partner as well who contributes to household income, and I don't have any children, so I've got no dependents, so I do have that flexibility.
Nice.
But yeah, I felt that there needed like a resource for people who want to be freelance permanently. I think people think of freelance as being that in between jobs, like a
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's people that make it a sustainable living. So that
Yeah.
was kind of the idea behind the Substack.
Fantastic. And we're going to get into talking about, what we're here for, talking about F-ups. But for freelancers, like, you write about, people getting on, being freelance, what they need to be doing. What's your biggest advice? If like there's one piece of advice that, you really truly believe that freelancers should follow, what would you say it is?
Be part of a community. Build that network of people that can refer you, that can get to know you, that can work with you. The worst thing about being freelance is being on your own. And although I am self-confessed introvert, I love my own company. You can't do things on your own. You do need that network around you.
Absolutely. I promise I didn't pay Heather to say that because one might think, of course, Annie, you're going to get someone here who's going to say being part of a community is the biggest flex for consultants. But it truly is. And, that's one thing I've joyfully seen the PPC Live community have of like a lot of freelancers who have, how they can ask people questions about issues you're having. Like if you're a freelancer, you're not sitting with a team of colleagues of like, oh, there's an issue. I'll just ask this team member in terms of whether they've seen that issue. You can't really do that. And so it can be very isolating in terms of actually really knowing what's going on and whether you've done something wrong or whether it's the Google system that has messed up. And even in general, as the PPC community has been a really lot more generous with that. I mean, I started, about 2008. You did have to just trial and error a lot of things. Now you get people on LinkedIn, Twitter, and a different social media will share the mistakes that they've come across and, and how others don't need to make that same mistake. So yeah, it's a really great PPC community just in general, whether it's PPC Live or not. But before we also go into our queries about, the F-ups, fun facts. So yeah, Heather, what's your fun fact for us today?
So my fun fact is my first job was teaching circus skills to children.
Bless. That must have been so cool. And what was the skill that you were teaching them? What particular skill?
Mostly juggling. Yeah.
Okay. So how many balls can you juggle? Is like, cause I know 2 is like the simple one. How many can you juggle in the air?
So I can juggle 3, which is one more than the
Nice.
children could juggle. So that was
Right.
okay.
Right, exactly. I think I only really reached children level. I can about juggle 2, 3, and things start going very wrong. So yeah, I could still be one of your students who needs to learn to juggle 3. Okay, let's get to the crux of this conversation. We're now going to go into talking about F-ups, where the biggest learnings for people's career really is. Because on all the social medias, you get people talking about their wins and, how they've scaled their accounts and scaled their businesses. And, they manage $100,000 or a million, pounds of accounts. But we really want to hear about when things go wrong. That's really where the interesting stuff happens. So Heather, really grateful that, you're latest on the long line of guests who's willing to share an F-up that you've made. So yeah, without further ado, Heather, what's the F-up you'd like to share with us?
Okay, so my F-up happened around 2018, so it's probably about 8 years ago now.
Okay.
It was an e-commerce client. We had been running meta ads for them, remarketing mostly, but they were also boosting organic content as well. So we were creating sort of tailored audiences, segments for them to use as audiences for their boosted promoted posts. And they would send us the organic content and say, can you boost this for £50 over the weekend? And we would set it all up through Ads Manager, making sure that it was targeted correctly. I set one up, similar thing, £50 budget. And because it was such a short budget and just for a weekend, I didn't check back in on it. I just left it. The dreaded set and forget. And it was 3 weeks later, I was due to meet the client face to face. I was going through the Google reports, the Meta reports, pulling all the data ready for the meeting. And when I logged in, I saw that this campaign had not spent £50, it had spent over £1,000, so 20 times their budget. And yeah, I actually felt physically sick when I saw that it had happened. And I thought at first I must have selected the wrong date range. Maybe I'm looking back over several months or something. How could this have happened? And it was just simply a case of the little drop down where you select lifetime budget or daily budget. And I should have selected lifetime, but it has gone back to daily budget. And I'd obviously not double checked it when I pressed it live.
Oh
And
Lord.
then I
So
left it.
you left it and this happened like over a weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'd obviously set it going on the Friday, completely forgotten about it. 3 weeks later, yeah. So then
Yeah.
I had the dilemma. What do you do? Do you tell obviously got to tell the client because they spent their money, but yeah, horrible
So
feeling.
but you discovered it. Like, what was the investigation that you were doing? Were you just doing like, okay, let's do me doing my, business as usual. Let's check the stats, how campaign is going. And that's when you discovered the overspending happened. And you'd waited how long? I almost feel so bad because it's almost I'm doing the whole, what are all the things that you did wrong that this thing happened? So sorry, I apologize. Bear with me. It was like you didn't check it for 3 weeks. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so in my head, I'd set the campaign going for 3 days over the weekend with a lifetime budget of £50. So by the Monday, it wasn't running, so I didn't check it. I didn't check that it had stopped running. But I hadn't set an end date. I just let it run with a daily budget.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. So it just kept on running. You didn't send an end date. It was supposed to have ended just like on the Monday, but it kept running. And it's only 3 weeks later that you then checked and realized it was still running. Oh, Lordy. Okay. Got it. Because sorry, my internet connection cut you out for me for a second there. But like, so, okay, then what happened next? What was the conversation like with the client to tell them what had happened?
So as I mentioned, I had a face-to-face meeting with them the day after, and I thought this is best to tell them face-to-face, not send them an email today. I'll wait until tomorrow, sit down with them, go through it. Yeah, so I approached it just completely honest. Said, look, I've got a confession to make. That campaign that we ran on Facebook, it ran for longer than it should have done. We've overspent by this much, but I will make it up to you and it won't happen again.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, in the grand scale of things, how much did it spend compared to what their usual budget for campaigns? Was that something that really would have dented their, P&L, or was it something that was actually considerably like a smaller budget compared to what they usually spend?
So from memory at the time, they were spending maybe so no more than £500 a month on Facebook ads. So it was well over their budget. They wouldn't be expecting that kind of bill. Plus they had the remarketing campaigns running as well in the background. So there was spend on those as well. I'm surprised the client didn't spot it before I did, to be fair, but I think they just didn't have not had the credit card bill. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's interesting that they hadn't. And I guess that's a saving grace, because usually I always say that the biggest thing is to be able to be the one that spots the error, and you did this time. So so because some clients themselves, they fumble on that. And what was their reaction? Were they annoyed? How did that go?
They weren't happy. But they kind of saw the funny side of it. And interestingly, I've just had a meeting with the same client today, and I reminded them of this incident, and they said, we actually admired your honesty and transparency in the situation. That's why we're still working together. So yeah, they saw the funny side of it, and I put it right as much as I could at the time. Yeah. They were very gracious in their reaction.
Fantastic. And so this is a time where you were a freelancer. So it's not like if there were other teammates or a manager that could have that affected the situation. Okay. And so looking back, what would you say your other signs that you missed that made that happen?
I think the mistake came down to complacency, in that it was something that I set up hundreds of times before. It was just, run of the mill campaign, just boost this to this audience, set it going. And I just didn't go through and double check it. And it's a while ago now, so I can't remember exactly what was going on as well at the same time, but potentially it was a Friday afternoon, clients wanting things doing, and I was too busy. to sort of spot that mistake. So I think in terms of kind of the warning signs, it was not giving myself time to do it and just slowing down and just going through the setup process. As you say, when you're working on your own, you've got no one else to pick it up. There's no one else looking over your shoulder. There's no one else double checking it. It's all down to you. So it's making sure you give yourself that time to check it yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if there was someone who has just made that kind of mistake, a spend that was supposed to start and end after just 3 days that kept running for up to, as you said, 3 weeks, and they're panicking, they're looking at this, they're about to have their weekly meeting with their client, panicking about what to say. What's your advice to them?
Own it. Just admit that you've done something wrong, that you are human at the end of the day. It's really, really tempting when you see it to panic and think, what can I tell the client? How could I come up with some excuse? Could I blame it on the platform? Could I, is there someone else that I could blame it on? But really, it's down to you. I mean, I don't have anyone else to blame it on, but I could have said it was a meta update or, platform change or something like that.
Yeah.
That would have been easy to do. But I just think that my experience of working with clients that have had bad experiences with other freelancers or with other agencies, I don't think the agency has been 100% truthful with the client. And I think that's when relationships break down. So it's just being honest. You're human at the end of the day and you make mistakes. I think clients will value that honesty over you being perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honesty is like the biggest thing. And that's a client that you still have on your books. You're
Yes.
still working with them, right? Yeah.
Yes. So I've been working with them. It's 9 years now, coming to 10 years. So they're still working with me. So it's testament to that.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Is there now a process? Is there like because, as a freelancer, it's probably even more important because there's no one else, as you said, to check your work in terms of, how you do things. What's like, is there like a new process, a new checklist that you make sure that you go through because of that mistake that happened?
Yeah, I do for Meta and for Google Ads as well. We have like a campaign launch checklist to go through and just sense check everything, and it covers up everything from whether it's a lead gen campaign to an e-commerce campaign. And I use that kind of religiously now. It's just part of the process of doing it. And of course, we've got AI, which can help us kind of sense check things as well. You can take screen grabs and upload it and get them to sort of give you a second pair of eyes on things. But I do tend to fall back to the manual checklist. I just think that human element is important.
You know what? That's probably a resource that, as we said earlier on at the beginning of this the episode, about how there are loads of freelancers in the communities, loads of freelancers who are trying to find good resources and checklists that, that have been, stress tests by other freelancers is something that's a good thing to put together. So, an idea that I just had a minute ago is that maybe we have a PPC Live up to date 2026 checklist that we have for our community that I'll put together so that other freelancers can come, and it'll be like probably been an amalgamation from all the different mistakes that people have shared in terms of like the checklist of now what you should do to avoid, a lot of the mistakes that we've shared on our different episodes. So we're now going to I'm going to go into asking questions about, mistakes that you found other agencies have done. As a freelancer, you've probably like taken on several accounts and, had, things that you needed to change straight away based on mistakes other agencies have made. But before that, what's one big, takeaway from your story that you'd like to share with our audience before we start talking about other people's mistakes?
I think how you communicate with clients when the worst happens is how you do business generally. That's what's going to keep the client or send them off to somebody else.
Yeah. The communication is the biggest biggest thing, and doing it well, doing it honestly is what's very vitally important. I definitely agree with you on that one. Okay. Let's put that one to bed. I feel like I kind of caused some of my guests PTSD of thinking about that mistake that made them shudder. So we'll put that to rest, put that to bed. Now let's move on and talk about, technically your wins and the things that you've seen that you've been able to be like, oh my God, a new client has come on board with you. You've seen some of the errors that other agencies have made, and you've directed your clients into the right path. What are some of like one or two of like big mistakes that or it can even be like simple mistakes that you're surprised that are kind of keep recurring, that you keep seeing when you kind of take on a new client and start auditing their account?
It's definitely got to be conversion tracking set up and it not being set up correctly. It just seems to be pretty much every account that I access at the moment. And I think some of it actually dates back to the switchover from Universal Analytics to GA4 with events being imported in, and the switchover wasn't done correctly, so the events aren't tracking, but then Google's optimizing for them. And yeah, I think the worst one that we saw was an e-commerce account, and they were optimizing for people submitting the search form on their website. So that was classed as a conversion. But the actual sales, it was an e-commerce site, actual sales weren't being counted as conversions. So they were optimizing their entire Google Ads accounts, and had been for 12 months on people just searching on the website. So
oh my God. They were not, but there was actually and it was like, so it was like a retail side, a client, and there was an option to actually buy, and they were not optimizing towards the actual sale.
Nope.
Flipping hell. How does someone get that wrong? Does that mean that the tag was on the wrong page?
So it looked like, it's very difficult to tell when you're looking back, you're trying to work out what's gone on here, but it looked like they had events set up in Universal Analytics, and Google had automatically upgraded them to GA4, but that event, the purchase event, hadn't been transferred over. But they were tracking form submit as a conversion, thinking that that would be a sale. But the only form on the website that triggered that conversion was the search bar at the top. So it was just either, I'm not sure whether it was an agency that did that or whether it was the client themselves. I've got a feeling the client might have done a bit of DIY Google Ads management at some point. So yeah, and Google's got all that data. It's learned from the wrong data for 12 months. So you've got to retrain it.
Yeah. So how was that retraining? So you spotted that, you set the tracking up properly, and did performance, when something like tracking has been set up wrong, how long does it take for the account to actually recover? Is there a bit of a dip in performance straight away that you need to warn the clients about?
Yeah, because essentially there's no conversion data. It's like you're starting from scratch. So we only worked with the client for about 5 months, and it only just started to pick up. But at the time that it started to pick up was their quiet season. So it was going to be probably another 6 months before they were going to start seeing some results, and the client didn't want to wait that long. So it was just one of them. We put lots of work in up front, and then,
they went on to someone else because they wanted faster results.
Yeah.
Oh, bless. All right. Any other like annoying mistakes that you spotted, and even like mistakes, let's say, around AI and AI usage?
Yeah. I think the worst part of AI is actually the AI assistant within Google Ads. It's just terrible. And I've seen so many accounts that are using it and letting the AI assistant write the headlines, write the descriptions, and just leaving it. And I've seen lots of campaigns that have set up, and they've got maybe 10 ad groups, and every ad group has the same ad text. It's all identical text. They've just basically not gone in and edited any of it. And that's like the new bugbear, I think, is using Google's AI assistant, which I'm hoping will get better, because it could potentially be really helpful, but at the moment, not so much.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, I think like it just makes me think, and I've said this several times, it just makes me think of the introduction of PMAX and everybody, how it was just touted as, the best thing of, how to set up a campaign very easily. And it was such a mess. But over the years, they've made it better, made it have more visibility with your channel visibility and everything's not so much a black box. And I feel like now we are very much still in the whole, potential for all these AI assistants and AI features to be good, but we're very much still at the stage of it's a hot mess and it's gonna still take years for people for Google to really fiddle with, their backend system and actually make it useful. Has there been any part of, like, I know we talk about it, the main topic is about mistakes, but talking about, I think it's almost so easy to talk about how a lot of usage of AI is going wrong. Is there a use of AI with PPC that you're actually finding that is working well?
Yeah, so I've used Claude Code to create a search term analyzer tool, and it saves me so much time. It means I can download.
Nice.
So I don't give access to the Google Ads accounts. Terrified of doing that at this stage. So, but I can download a CSV file with the month's search term reports. I can upload it into this tool, and it will pull out sort of high intent keywords that we might want to lean into. It can pull out potential negative keywords that are expensive but not converting, and it's saving me so much manual time. It does still require me to add the context and the history and understand the business. But it's kind of like 80% there. And yeah, as I say, it saves me hours every month.
Amazing. Yeah. It can be good to create tools that can help you do the work better by giving it direct access to your account, but to actually do things that you should be doing. Yeah, we should really be wary of that. So yeah, I hope really people learn from that and understand to do that better. In terms of just like our industry and talking about, floors and how things are going well, especially with all these new things that Google is throwing at us. GML this year was just very new for demand gen, new for YouTube, new for PMax, new for AI Max, and and even like a weeks later, just like how do people? What's your advice for people to not make mistakes but still ensure that they're still being curious enough and testing things enough, in this new age of so many new things that they could be testing?
Yeah, I think the key is testing, isn't it? It's having, if you're working with clients, it's making sure that they understand this is a test, this is an experiment, this is a new feature, and we are testing it. We can't guarantee what's going to happen because there's so many unknowns at the moment. And I think, from my perspective, most of my clients are what I would call the low data. So they're either a low budget or they're a really niche business or they're a local business. And a lot of the new features, PMax, AI Max, they don't fall into that category, if that makes sense. No. They don't have enough data to be able to utilize AI. In which case, it's knowing that if a client comes and says, can we try this, can we try that? It's being able to say, well, actually, it's probably not right for your business. And just kind of understanding whether it's going to be a good fit. But I'm hopeful that some of these updates will start applying to the smaller accounts. If we think back to like the smart bidding strategies, max conversions, we used to have to start on max clicks to get the traffic before we could switch to max conversions, but that's changed recently. So that makes me hopeful that Google's going to make PMax and AI Max search a little bit more friendly towards the smaller accounts. But yeah, not happening yet, but hopefully.
No, the smaller accounts and, maybe like the B2B and the lead gen, which, you predominantly work on. Yeah, they always seem to be overlooked in a lot of these like updates and features that can be used. Yeah. And even so talking about the whole testing thing that you said, that's what we should be doing. There's a bit of like a fear of making that a big mistake or fear of failure. I've worked in agencies where you'll get a manager going like, we're not allowed to make mistakes, and managers can be really not great in that way of being able to really allow a junior person to just, test and trial and test thing. What's your advice for, I know you don't, did you reach a stage where you were leading teams before you moved freelance?
No, so I worked in-house. It's like the marketing manager.
Okay, cool. But like, if you were to advise as a senior person, you've reached that, you've done this for so many years. Like, if you were to go back to the company, I'm sure you'll be seen as a senior person. What's your advice to like others, like senior folks who are managing teams, or so that they can inspire them to not be afraid to make mistakes? Because that's when they won't be inspired to do tests if they're scared of making mistakes. Why is it important that managers communicate to their juniors that it's okay to make mistakes?
I think making mistakes is how we learn, and it's just how we learn from day one. From being a child, we learn to walk by falling over. You just learn not to do that again. And I think you can only learn so much from, like Google's training. You can only learn so much from YouTube videos. You can only learn so much from people telling you, but actually you physically doing it, seeing the results for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the only way. And I think every case is different as well. It might be that someone comes to you and says, well, if you do that, it's going to result in this. But it might not do for that client. So it might result in something else. And the only way we know is by testing it and trying it. And we might discover something amazing if we do. So why not?
Yeah. Whatever case you're going, if you do, you'll discover something great. If you don't, you'll learn something. So it's never a negative thing when it comes to, testing something and possibly making a mistake. Yeah. Fantastic, Heather. That has been so great. But last question now, we're done with talking about mistakes, done with talking, really, really great teaching nuggets here. But like, if your PPC career were a movie, what would the title be?
It would have to be The Long Game.
Okay. Can you explain why the long game? Are you in this, like PPC, doing paid search management as a freelancer is your future? Is that the kind of idea you're going for?
Yeah, I've been in 21 years now. So this is like the long game for me. But I think in terms of when you're working with smaller accounts, it's not a quick turnaround. It is tweaks and optimizations and trials and tests. And clients have got to be in it for the long game as well.
Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. I love that. The long game. That's a good one. And is that the name of an actual movie? I feel like it should be. That
Probably.
would sound like a really great name. Title for I'm gonna look up for that. Thank you so much, Heather, for joining us today. Like, where can people find you if they want to hear more about, the work that you do, the writing that you do?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, so find me, Heather Robinson, and my Substack is The Freelance Life on Substack, and that's the two places where I'm most active.
Fantastic. And since PPC Live is very much about events, do you come to events? When's the next event that you have on your calendar to go to?
So my next one I'll be down at Brighton SEO for Brighton SEO and Measure Fest in October. And then I'm hoping to do some more next year as well. Being freelance, the kind of conference budget's quite small, so quite selective.
I understand. I was hoping you'd put PPC Live in July on your calendar, but I do understand you're far out, and the budgets for that can be tough. I am doing it in the afternoon, so it's starting from 1:30. It's literally just to have, so people, if they can come down, they don't feel like they're going to be coming out so late and having to stay overnight for an evening thing. So it's going to be a daytime one this time. So I don't know if anybody in Leeds is thinking, okay, let's spend a day in London, come back up the same day. You can come down for a PPC Live event on July 29th, hopefully. Oh, lovely.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. And that's it for now. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll catch up soon. Bye.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you so much, Heather, for sharing that very honest and transparent experience. And remember, especially with using AI, ask advisor or AI assistant, not quite yet your friend. Make sure that even if you are going to use it, double check the ads that it's creating, your different ad groups, ensuring that there's differentiation, there is relevancy in that ad group around the keywords that are in that ad group, and ensure that, you've got, it's all down to you to create those campaigns. So you cannot just say AI created these campaigns, AI created this ads, and the client is no, that doesn't mean that the client isn't going to get pissed off with you. You are going to be the one that has to take the ish from them. So look out, double check all the things that AI has been producing before you put it live. So For the information and the full transcript, not just the show notes, please go to podcast.live for the full updates about all the details from that fantastic episode with Heather. So in terms of PPC Live events, we've just got a few weeks now left. Tickets are live and going. And our sponsor, Shopping IQ, a very wonderful sponsor, have actually allowed us to say that, we are, for the next, if you're going to buy a ticket till the 20th of July, they'll give you a full 12 months free access to Shopping IQ, no extra fees for at all. 12 months. Usually, people give offers for only 3 months or a few months, but 12 months for a whole year, you'll be able to use Shopping IQ for free. So if you're trying to figure out what CSS does and how it benefits your account, if your retail accounts, and you use Google Shopping, you should definitely take advantage of this offer. So anyone who buys a ticket till July 20th will be able to get a free access to Shopping IQ for 12 months. So go get your tickets. We're going to be having the event July 29th. Go to ppc.live for that. There like Scott Caruthers, Veronica Holler, Harry Fitzgerald, Charlotte Osborne. These are fantastic trainers, head of departments who are doing amazing work, who are going to talk to us about using AI, the future of our work, programmatic, and DSA going away, how to prepare for that. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Go to ppc.live for your ticket. Before I leave, I also like to share that I am taking on coaching clients. So if you go to themarketinganu.com and go there, book a 15-minute free discovery call so that we can figure out whether it's trying to build your confidence, trying to find the right contacts, to ensure you're doing your job well, and just to grow in your field, and just having the confidence of asking for that promotion, asking for that pay rise, asking to be on that exciting project that you want to be on. Give me a call. Let's have a chat so that we can help you overcome that hurdle, which is most of the time ourselves, our brains. The hurdle is usually within ourselves, not actually out there. So let's have a chat about that. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you. Bye.